both senders and receivers need to do their jobs in a correct way, which means the sender has to transfer information and meaning, and the receiver needs to extract that meaning from it. The essence of communication is always sharing. Communication is all about sharing something. We can be sharing data, we can be sharing certain information or some insights about anything. Communication can be as simple as a smile or as complicated as a promotional campaign. Now, smile is something very simple, but it is also communicating something. Probably you are welcoming someone, or you are trying to tell someone that you are happy to see them, or you are being nice, or anything. And on the other hand, some very complex promotional campaigns which are responsible for the fate of big brands, they are also types of communication. So communication can be very simple and it can be very complicated as well. Now let's talk about meaning a little. Whenever we are communicating, we have already established that a certain meaning is being passed on. Now, whenever we are communicating, three things can happen to a meaning. There are three different scenarios. There are three different possibilities. Number one, transmitted meaning. Number two, negotiated meaning. And number three, recreated meaning. The sender is always intending to send a certain meaning. Right? We have already established that from the definition. Now, the second part is from the receiver. The receiver has to extract or understand that meaning from it. While the receiver is trying to understand that meaning from it, three things can happen. Number one, transmitted meaning. Transmitted meaning means that the intended meaning which the sender was actually trying to convey was exactly received by the receiver as intended by the sender. जो मीनिंग सेंडर भेजना चाह रहा था वही मीनिंग रिसीवर ने अंडरस्टैंड कर लिया. The next possibility is that the intended meaning which the sender was trying to send is received by the receiver, is understood by the receiver, plus he or she also adds certain assumptions of their own. So that becomes negotiated meaning. The intended meaning plus certain assumptions of the receiver themselves. The last case is when the meaning is totally recreated. The sender was trying to convey something, but the receiver has understood something completely different. The meaning has been recreated. So these are the three possibilities, these are the three things which can happen to a certain meaning whenever communication is taking place. Now let's talk a little about the communication's importance. Why is communication important for us? Let's start with your career. Why is communication important for your career? Before going to career, let's talk about life in general. Life in general depends all on communication. Communication is a very important part of our daily lives. Starting from our homes to our friend circle, everywhere communication is happening. A child is born, that child is communicating with us in a certain way. With our friends, we go to shops, we try to sell or purchase something, we try to communicate with our family, with our friends. So communication is very important and our life depends on communication. Now communication is important for our career, there is no doubt about it. Communication holds a great importance in our career. Great ideas would mean nothing if they are not communicated properly. If you are unable to communicate a certain idea, a certain great idea, it won't mean anything. It will not result into anything beneficial. There is a movie known as The Flash of Genius. It is about a certain person who gets an idea and ultimately he makes something very big out of it. I recommend it. You should watch that movie. Another example of effective communication, there is a TV series known as Suits, and there is a character in it known as Harvey Specter, and he is supposed to be the best lawyer and the best closer in town, and his only strength is communication. All his success stories revolve around communications, and these things happen in real life as well. For example, you are working in an environment, or you are trying to make it as an entrepreneur. You have a certain great idea, but you are unable to communicate it effectively to people who are important. Then those great ideas might get wasted. Promotion is all about communication. Now let's talk a little about promotion first. Promotion is a very important part of business, a very important part of marketing. Let's not get into that detail, but promotion in every aspect is very important, and it is all about communication. Now in some cases we might be promoting a certain product, in some cases we might be promoting ourselves, we might be promoting our ideas, or we can be promoting anything. So in order to do it effectively, we need to be good with communication. Communication is a routine in organization. Consistently you are communicating with someone, so being good at communication is very important for you. At times you need to sell yourself. You need to sell yourself as a good employee. You need to sell yourself as a good job aspirant. You need to sell yourself as an entrepreneur. You need to sell yourself to certain investors, etc. So again, communication is the key to do that. Communication is vital for reaching to the top positions at any organization. Whenever you are, as a job applicants, you are trying to compete for a certain position, communication would definitely give you an advantage. Going further, let's discuss why communication is important to your company. Why a company would want an employee with good communication skills. A strong sense of trust between individuals and that particular organization is very important. Trust is a very key factor. Now, how that trust has to be created. Communication plays a great role in it. The company wants you as the representative with good communication skills, and go and build that sense of trust with different individuals and also with other stakeholders to the organization in that specific market environment. Closer ties with important communities in the marketplace are very important. At times when we are running a business, there are certain important communities, certain important places, certain important stakeholders, and closer ties with those communities are very important. For example, as a business, you need to have good ties with your suppliers. You need to have good ties with your distributors, right? So closer ties with important communities in the marketplace are very important, and communication is the way to do that. Influencing perceptions and trends. Perceptions and trends, they keep changing with time, with location, with eras, right? And effective organizations, they try to influence these trends, they try to influence perceptions of people, and communication is a way to do that. Increase productivity with faster problem solving. Obviously, when the communication between the employees is effective, it will result into faster problem solving, and that will result into an increased productivity, right? The next point is clear and persuasive marketing messages. Clear and persuasive marketing messages are very important. Let's discuss the clarity first. The clarity of messages is very important. Every brand has a certain meaning associated with it. Every brand has a certain image associated with it, and in return, the consumers, the potential customers or the existing customers, they also somehow try to associate themselves with these brands, right? They also try to associate themselves with these brands. So the image or whatever marketing messages that company is trying to provide, it needs to be clear. If there is any ambiguity in a certain message, then people will not be sure whether to associate themselves with that particular brand or not, right? So clear and persuasive marketing messages, which are very important in the marketing arena, they are also dependent upon effective communication. Going further, let's discuss what would make communication more effective. We are communicating everywhere on a daily basis in all organizations, but what would make our communication more effective? Let's go through a few important points. The first one is always provide practical information. Provision of practical information is very important. For example, I'll give you a hypothetical situation. Our company is going through a tough situation. A company is going through a tough situation, and that certain company wants that certain phase to be over. For example, I as an employee or you as an employee sitting in a meeting, you give a suggestion in the meeting that let's go to a planet near the black hole. Now listen to it carefully. For example, if I give a suggestion that let's go to a certain planet which is near a black hole. Now, when a planet is near to the black hole, it means that the time in that planet would pass very slowly. This is a scientific fact. Time in that planet would pass very slowly. So let's go to that planet. We will only spend an hour there. And when we come back to Earth, maybe 100 years would have been passed, right? So now this is an information, this is a suggestion that I have given, but this is highly impractical. This cannot happen. This is not practical. So whenever you're trying to give some information, wherever you're trying to give some suggestion, it should be practical, it should be doable, it should be within the reach of that company. If you give great ideas and great pieces of information, but if they are not practical, they would be of no use, right? The other point is give facts rather than vague impressions. Whenever you are communicating, your communication should always be factual. It should be based on facts, based on actual events, based on actual numbers, not just vague statements like if we do something, this may result into a good profit, may result into a good profit. Now this is vague impression. We need to have concrete facts and figures. The next point is present in a concise and efficient manner. Now this is very important. Whenever you try to communicate, you are trying to communicate orally or you are trying to communicate through text or in any way, you need to be concise and you need to be efficient. Now being concise and being efficient shows that you have respect for other people's time. You're not trying to waste their time, right? Another point is that concise and efficient communication has an increased chance of positive response in contrast to unnecessarily stretched communication. A very common example, especially in our community, is that when it's Eid, we often get Eid Mubarak, Eid greetings messages from different friends of ours. Now, you all might have seen some messages using very heavy words. Sometimes they go beyond our comprehension. And nowadays, mostly people don't read those long messages. So, in contrast to that, if you write Eid Mubarak and send it to your friend, that would be more effective, it would be more nice, and you may get a positive response as well. The next point is to clarify expectations and responsibilities. Whenever you are trying to communicate, maybe an email or maybe a letter or even a phone call, you should always clarify what you are expecting, what responsibilities are you giving to the receiver, and what responsibilities you are taking personally. These things always need to be clear. The other point is offering compelling and persuasive arguments. While communicating, you should always offer arguments that are persuasive so that you can convince the other person, and they should always also be compelling. What are the employer's expectations from you? When an employer is trying to employ you, what are they expecting from you nowadays? The first thing an employer is expecting from you is digital information fluency. What is digital information fluency? Digital information fluency comprises of three things. Number one, recognizing information needs. You should always be able to recognize what sort of information you need here, right? The other thing is that when you have recognized what information you need, then you should be able to efficiently search for that information, right? And the last point is the ethical use of that information. Whatever information you get, you should always use it within the boundaries of ethics. You should not cross that boundaries, right? The next thing they expect from you is organizing your ideas and information logically and completely, right? If you organize your ideas and information in a very random manner without any logical order, it won't make any sense, and it won't be beneficial to the company. Express your ideas coherently, persuasively, and concisely. We have talked much about that. Another thing which is very important, and often it is very much ignored, active listening. As we have established that listening is also a part of communication. So when there is a communication process happening, you need to be an active listener as well. You need to listen and you need to understand, right? Listening is also very important part of communication in an organizations, in our daily relationships, and everywhere. Listening is an equal important part of communication as talking or providing the information. Another important point is effective communication in a diverse environment. Nowadays, we are living in a global world, and workforces are very much diverse. They are culturally diverse. They are on the basis of gender, they are diverse. On the basis of social status, on social class, they are diverse. On the basis of nationality, they are diverse. On the basis of ethnicity, they are diverse. So when you are working in a diverse environment, communication gets a little bit tough, because every group, every different kind of person, maybe you belong to a different culture or speak a different language, the communication norms everywhere in different cases are different. So you need to understand all these things, and you need to be good at communication in a diverse environment. Efficient and effective use of technology. Obviously, it is very important. Nowadays, we have a very strong technological infrastructure, and if we are able to use it effectively, we will have very good results. Quality writing and speaking is also very important. Quality writing and speaking, the quality of your argument, the quality of your grammar, the quality of your sentence structure, the quality of the way of your speech, these are all very important. Communicating as a civilized manner. Unfortunately, we do not have that very much around these days, but communication in a civilized manner is very important for a good communication process. Then we have critical thinking. Critical thinking means whenever we listen to something, whenever we get some new information, or whenever we are reading a passage or anything, we should be able to comprehend it. We should be able to extract meaning out of it. We should be able to read between the lines. If there is a certain problem being presented, we should be able to try to propose a solution to it, right? So critical thinking is very important. Critical thinking means that when you get certain information, you analyze it, you make certain conclusions from it, and in case of certain problems, you offer solution to that problem. This is critical thinking, and this is very important, and this is what an employer expects from you, right? That was all for today. I hope to have a good question answer session in our live session. I have added a quote at the end of this lecture. Read it, understand it, and try to implement it in your lives. Thank you.